Hey guys, welcome to another exciting day of geography. Let's get started. So, today we are learning about Western, South, and Central Asia. Um, so, I split Asia up into three kind of main sections. So, today we're looking at the West, kind of middle and south area of Asia, and then we'll look at Southeast Asia and then Eastern Asia. Um, so yeah, today we're looking at right a lot of so this would be like Western Asia, which includes like areas that you would like consider the Middle East. Um, all of our stands up in here, right? So lots of different countries. So we're looking at Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Iran, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, right? So physical geography of these areas. One really important thing that we're going to be focusing on today is actually going to be water. Especially in this part of the world, we have lots of kind of more hot or dry climates. But there actually are lots of rivers as well. So I realize this map's kind of hard to see, but in this area, which is now like modern day Iraq, we have this area that is known as Mesopotamia. This is really, really important in like world history because this is where a lot of the first civilizations will pop up. So we have the Tigris River and the Euphrates River, and between them, um, well, the rivers flood, right, which brings lots of nutrients, lots of moisture to this area, to the ground, which made it really easy to farm, especially, way back when, which more farming means more people can live there and there's more food. And so that's where we start to see like the first cities pop up. So Tigris and Euphrates River, right, in this area, super important. We have the Persian Gulf, we have the Red Sea, the Dead Sea is super small, it's right in there. Caspian Sea, the Aral Sea we'll look at today. Um, right, Black Sea. Lots of stuff going on um, in here with water. Here's another map just to get a feel for it. So this one I like because it shows like the mountains a little bit better. So this area is not like completely flat or anything like that. In Iran especially, there are lots of mountains, right, that come up into like Turkey. Um, Up here between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea of the Caucasus Mountains. Um, right, Tigris River, Euphrates River, right? We get up in here and there's lots more mountains that we'll be looking at. So some areas have pretty high elevations. We also have some, more flat kind of plains areas in here as well. Um, so normally if you guys were like in the physical classroom, so I would have you guys come up and try and see, right, what we could label, what we could figure out, right? So we have like the Aral Sea, Red Sea, Black Sea, Caspian Sea, Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, Gulf of Aden, Tigris River, and the Euphrates River. Um, right, and so we would go through. But since we're not physically together and this isn't on the whiteboard, you can pause the video if you want and try and make your best guesses and go back to the other slides if you want to check how well you did. But um, excuse me. Political geography. So the political geography is like where all the countries are. Um, so from the assignment on April 7th, right, you probably labeled um, some countries in Asia. So if we look at these, right, maybe you've heard of like Turkey before, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, right, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain. These countries come up a lot in the news. They're pretty rich in some like raw natural resources like oil, or countries like Iran we don't have the greatest relationship with, so usually if Iran is in the news, it's something about like military or war kind of a thing. So yeah, this is it's pretty crazy part of the world as far as, you got your guys' lifetimes. So you've probably heard of these before if you've heard of Afghanistan before, Iraq before, right? This, I always thought these pictures were really interesting. So, a couple years ago, NASA released a bunch of images of the world at night from space. So we can actually see, right, where a lot of the bigger cities are, that have like access to a lot of electricity. Over here, this is in Africa, so we'll look at it when we get to our Africa unit. But this is the Nile River, right? And most of the people who live in Egypt live along the Nile. But not just that, most of the cities are along the Nile because it's easy for transportation, right? To ship your goods and stuff. So we see similar things, right? Lots of stuff along the coasts. It's easier to transport stuff, easier to ship stuff. You get up in here, it follows the rivers, right? It's Turkey, right? I don't know, I always just thought these were super cool and super pretty because it kind of tells you a lot about the spread of technology in some of these areas. And I mean, some of these are like oil rigs, stuff like that. Big kind of places off the coast. So this is actually part of your homework, but you don't have to do it right now because it's like in the slides. But so we're going to be looking at the Aral Sea and the Ganges River. So these are the same questions that you guys will answer. So why did the Aral Sea dry up? What happened to the camels that ate the salty grass? What happened when the dam was built? And what happened to the town of Aral since 1960? So you're going to watch this from BBC News. That'll be part of your assignment today. It's in the assignments and all the links and videos and stuff. You'll get there. So we're gonna move a little bit to India and more of what we'd consider like South Asia. So we're looking at Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh. Sri Lanka's also in there as well. What's actually interesting is when the British ruled over this area, right, India, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh were actually all the same country, but they ended up splitting up. We'll get to. It's like, ooh, little teaser trailer there. So, we're looking at the Indian subcontinent. It's a subcontinent because it has its own tectonic plate. Normally I ask, right, what natural barrier separates this from the rest of the continent? It's the Himalayas, right? So we got lots of mountains up in here. We actually also have a mountain range right up through between like Afghanistan and Pakistan as well, right? So there's mountains that surround India. Right, tectonic plate movement is creating the Himalayas. So what kind of tectonic plate movement in it is it, right? We have continental plus continental, right? And it's pushing it up. The subcontinent's really interesting because it has some of the oldest and youngest landforms on the Earth. And the Himalayas actually grow like 2 inches roughly, right? Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It depends on the tectonic plate movement, right? Earthquakes and all that kind of stuff. But it can be like up to 2 inches of growth per year in like height, right? Because this whole landform is just ramming up into, right, the other plate, the Asian plate. The Ganges Plain, we see lots of rivers in this area. And what's kind of crazy about this area, so we have the Himalayas, right, where you get snow melting, runoff, right? So we see lots of rivers starting up in there, right, and then they come off. Up in the Himalayas. So the Indus River starts up in the Himalayas, the Ganges River starts up in the Himalayas, and I'm going to butcher how to say this, but I'm going to try. The Brahmaputra River. Anyway. So these rivers, right, are in this area. It's fairly flat, right? You're right up next to the beautiful Himalayas. And 1/10 of the world's population lives just in this area. Which is kind of crazy. And a lot of them live along the Ganges River. So just tons and tons of people who live in this area, who rely on like the crops and the farming from this area and a lot of the water in the area as well. So Ganges River, it is the most important river in South Asia. It has consistent growth. Sorry, my dog's barking. It has consistent flow through the dry season. So it doesn't dry up. You always have water. And then during the monsoon season, it's like their rainy season, the river floods. They have huge floods. That actually makes this area really great for agriculture. Lots of farming does really well there. Lots of good nutrients, good soil, lots of moisture. And, because you have food in the area, food growing in the area also means that most of the people live there. The river alone supports over 400 million people, which is more people than every single person in the United States. Right? It's a lot of people. You'll also watch a video about the Ganges River for your homework today. And it's going to look at some of the issues with it today, as well as some of like the kind of religious impacts with it. But I really like it. It's part of a series called Chasing Rivers. There's a really good one about the Colorado River, but this one's really, really great. Pakistan, Bangladesh. So I mentioned before, so the British were over, right, India as a whole, right? But there's lots of religious fighting and stuff between the Muslims and the Hindus. And so near the end of like the British rule, the British decided to kind of split up the country. So rather than having, these religions fight, they said, okay, right, we're going to split you up. If you're Muslim, move to Pakistan or Bangladesh. If you're Hindu, move to India. This created one of the largest like migrations of the modern era. Right, tons and tons of people were moving, just abandoning their homes, right, all that kind of stuff. And this will lead to like the eventual creation of their own countries, right? Pakistan, Bangladesh. Pakistan is where we have most of the Indus River and the Indus River Valley. It's one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Is in that area. It's the Indus River Valley civilization. There were over 1,000 cities. They had things like plumbing and garbage chutes and bathtubs and getting indoor plumbing. Like, it's so crazy. It's super advanced for their time. Unfortunately, they didn't have weapons and they ended up getting destroyed. Anyway, that's in that area. They also have a border dispute with India over the Kashmir territory. Pakistan says Pakistan's, India says it's India's, and so they fight over it a lot. The climate there is mostly hot, dry desert, but you also have regions that are temperate, so kind of similar to here. And then in the north, like the closer up into like the Himalayas that you get, it's actually like technically Arctic climate. This is their flag. up in the top, and this is a picture kind of further up north in their country, but really beautiful, really pretty. Bangladesh, it's really densely populated, which means it also has issues with feeding everyone. The government there has encouraged fewer children per family. The climate there is tropical. They usually have a mild winter, a hot, humid summer, and a humid, dry, rainy season. So they have, like, winter's kind of like their normal season. Then they have a hot and wet season and a warm and wet season. So really it's just lots of water, right, there in that area. Bhutan and Nepal. So these countries, so they have Mongolian ancestry, but now they have lots of different ethnicities living in them. This is also where you find like Sherpas, which are like mountaineering guides, which has been really important for like the tourism of the Himalayas. People wanting to go climb mountains, climb Everest, right, stuff like that. Climate, it varies, right, depending on where you're at. It's tropical in the southern plains. They have cool winters, hot summers in the central valleys, and then severe winters and cool summers in the Himalayas. So it really depends on what part of the country that you're in, how far north or south, right, or how far up in the mountains you are. Sri Lanka. So in Sri Lanka, they have two main ethnic groups. These ethnic groups are also divided by like religious groups as well. So we have the Buddhist Sinhalese. They're the majority. They run the government, and then the Hindu Tamil, who've, you know, there's some contention there, and they've like wanted their independence for a while. All right. So your assignment today, kind of mentioned before, but we're gonna pull it up. So hopefully you already did the warm-up. If not, get on there and do it. It's just a Google form, just a survey of how you prefer online lessons be delivered. I just want to hear your guys' opinions on different things. So please do that. It is worth points. That's your warm-up. I'm doing the notes right now. Woo, go me. And then slides are up there if you want to click through those slides. Your assignment. Watch 2 videos about endangered physical features in West/Central Asia and answer questions about how these impact the lives of the people living there. So that'll be your homework. I also have added these additional resources about the Aral Sea and the Ganges River. If you're interested in learning more. This one shows a lot of pictures of like the pollution, and this one is like what's been going on kind of since the video that you'll watch. So if you go 5.3 video questions, so I have the YouTube link, or so that's the YouTube link, or it's embedded, right? So we have the Aral Sea video and the Ganges River video, and then you'll go through and answer the questions in this quiz about it. And those same questions were in the slideshow that I just had. So if you want to go back and click through the slides first and look at those questions, great. I also have it so you can attempt it twice. So if you go in the quiz and you just look at the questions first and you watch the video, and then you're like, oh no, whatever, twice. Okay. Anyway. And then there's the due dates. So please make sure you do that. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you guys have a great day.